Hello there. Welcome to the Africa Rights Talk podcast, a Center for Human Rights podcast series exploring a range of human rights issues through conversations with academics, practitioners, and activists. I am your host, Victoria Amechi. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Africa Rights Talk podcast. This is season 7, and our second guest on the podcast is Arudi. Arudi, please kindly introduce yourself and the nature of work that you do.
All right. Thank you for having me. Yeah. And I'm happy about the work that you're doing with this podcast. So, as you alluded to, my name is Arudi Laurah. I currently work with the Network of African National Human Rights Institution as a program officer in charge of the protection of SOGIE persons as well as human rights defenders within Africa. I am also a scholar and a researcher, and I love biking, so yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a very nice way to end that introduction, and also very, very humble description of yourself. Because what I saw today after the NANHRI, so like there's more to you than we see that you've said. So, my next question would be, what work are you currently involved in as part of the network? Like, what is an important case or work that you're doing now that you feel like it needs to be some, visibility around that?
Okay. So first, let me just give some context.
Yeah.
So with the Network of African National Human Rights Institution, we are a membership organization of 46 national human rights institutions across the African continent. Yeah. And our main mandate to the NHRIs, as I will call, is to strengthen their capacity in order for them to effectively undertake their mandate as governed by the Paris principles that they are established under. As well, we assist them in the coordination with different partners, and we also raise their capacity with different thematic areas as well as emerging human rights issues. So that is a general scope here. As for the specific work that I do, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in 2014 adopted a groundbreaking resolution within the African continent, titled Resolution 275, that speaks against protection against violence and discrimination on real and perceived sexual orientation and gender identity. So when we're doing this work, one of the key things that we realize is that national human rights institutions have very limited awareness, or rather even information around how to tackle this emerging issue within the continent. And of course, looking at the contextual manner of it in terms of the political, cultural, religious spheres within the African continent, it is upon us to ensure that our national human rights institutions as well are effective in that manner. Okay. So with this project, one of the key things that we do is build their capacity around the issue that is looking at the international regional human rights framework that speaks towards the protection of LGBT persons, as well as we do a bit of research and documentation on the matter. Because one, when you look at many reports that have come out on the issue, you'll find that there's a lot of negligence when it comes to capturing where national human rights institutions should stand when it comes to that matter. So with us as a network, we also center the national human rights institutions within the conversation, ensuring that there's also data and resources that they can use within their various institutions to propel this work further. And on the human rights defenders work, it's mainly the same concept. But with this, we are looking to push our NHRIs to be able to implement one of the declarations that was adopted within their NHRI forum. That is the Marrakesh Declaration that speaks around the protection of women, human rights defenders, as well as civic space and just human rights defense as a whole within the continent.
Oh, great. That's a lot of work and very important work, because it's often like the notion that people think these human rights institutes, especially in the continent originally, are not powerful or strong enough. So I feel like that kind of capacitating people, the networks and the Human Rights Institute, it's very important work that you're doing. Thank you for that insight. What is that you're HRD and alumni, and how does that, how do you feel being back in the spaces that kind of like shaped your interest in human rights? And how has that influenced your work so far that you've done?
Yeah, so as you rightfully said, I was part of the HRDA in 2018. Um, First of all, just coming to the program itself, it was a gap that I wanted to fill in terms of my legal understanding of things.
Yeah.
I come from a sociological and psychology kind of background in my undergrad, and therefore in my work, I saw that the legal framework is something that I didn't have a lot of expertise in, and I needed to increase that. And so the program was very informative in that aspect and gave me a way to, right now I can sit around and, have a discussion with lawyers and feel like I'm one of the lawyers, or they wouldn't see the cracks on it. So yes, as well, in terms of presentation and confidence, it also raised that because of how the courses are outlined and the different ways of engaging. Networks have been continuous since school till now. Even my engagement with the Center for Human Rights in various capacity enhancement is because we still have rapport and good relations. And as we call it, the mafia, the human rights mafia within the continent, yes, I believe that is true because it remains a significant body, not just as an academic institution, but as an institution that also fosters programmatic advancement within the continent. And therefore, it's always a pleasure to be back and to see new engagements and to see how else I can, provide maybe input into how things are being run, now coming with the practical kind of outlet to it.
Thank you. Let's give a bit of a context, because we are currently at the NHRI training involving executive officials from the Egypt commissions of different countries. And what are your reflections of what happened in the past 2 days and the draft resolution or declaration that you guys that you try to commit them to? How has that been so far? What are the outcomes that have come out of this 2-day training?
Okay, so the engagement, as you rightly put, brought together high-level delegates from at least 7 national human rights institutions, as well as the offices of the ombudsman within the southern, cohort. And over the past 2 days, one of the key things that we wanted to establish is to increase the capacity of the commissioners and, the executive around the 2 resolutions, that is the resolution 275 and resolution 552 on intersex persons. Why is this important? It's because as national human rights institution, they have the mandate to ensure the protection and realization of human rights within their jurisdiction. Yeah. And therefore, it's always important, as we say, to learn and relearn and also unlearn. Yeah. So as persons who are holding powerful positions within the institution, it's important for them to also have the tools of engagement on especially contentious issues. Yeah. And this presented the best platform for us to share around that. So over the 2 days, I believe the deliberations were quite great. Yeah. I think we've had even the independent experts join us within this and expound on their mandates and how the NHRIs can be involved. And a few takeaways from it is, first, there's willingness from the national human rights institutions to learn around this matter. And in thus, we hope that there will be further steps that are taken within the institution to, if I may call it, to mainstream this human rights. Of course, looking at it on the spectrum of equality and non-discrimination, which is a key principle that is not only enshrined within the international human rights framework, but as well as the African Charter and Article 2. So just emphasizing that to them was good. And yes, we came together to deliberate on some of the inlets that they can be able to work through. And I believe that was positive because it will act as a guidance for them once they go back to the institutions. They can have, meetings and agree on maybe which inlets are suitable depending on the context that they serve. Because of course, with this topic, the political realm is very sometimes stringent, and you have to have tactical ways to engage, and therefore it just gives a plethora of options for them to choose from. And we are hoping to see some positive outcomes come from from this training, and we hope to have more trainings like this, maybe bringing more persons within the national human rights institutions. And at the end of the day, we hope to see our national human rights institution continuously protect all persons, regardless of any status that they hold.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for that. You mentioned that there were about 7 of those officials that were attended today, or the past 2 days. Do you want to extend this call to action to a more wider range of institutions that are mandated to protect the rights of vulnerable people in the society? And then my question is, do you want to extend that call to action beyond those 4 walls of the training center, and extend that to people who may have the interest in doing something to protect the people, but they are having to navigate this rigid, like I said, political realm of current times. So would you want to extend that to the wider audience?
Yes, definitely yes. And just as I said, under the NANHRI program, we have a SOGIE project that has been running since 2016, 2017. And with this, we have continuously engaged national human rights institutions, as well as LGBTI representatives or individuals within different countries. And yes, this is a call not just for us or the institutions that are here, but it's also a call to all the stakeholders that are interested in the topic to as well recognize the importance of national human rights institutions and also place them as a priority stakeholder whenever they have engagements, because that also empowers them and gives them more skills and also more ways to engage on this topic, which can fit into different contexts. And for this specific one of the key things as well was the fact that you find that NHRIs learn from each other, So there's that, let me say, peer exchange on best practices or how to mitigate some of the challenges that they are foreseen. And therefore, it's encouraged that such platforms and such forums should be replicated, of course, across the African globe and beyond.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think we've come to the end, but I don't know if there's anything pressing you feel like it's important that we have skipped in our reflections, in our answers, that you think is important that the audience know, if there any, they think issues that may have not been covered within this context of this training and the context of NANHRI as a whole.
Okay, well, I can maybe conclude by saying that it's important for the various individuals and persons or societies within each country to be able to understand the role of their national human rights institutions. It's very important, and I would call upon everyone to be able to start initiating conversation if that has not been there, establish some sort of rapport, as well understand what are the parameters through which their national human rights institutions can operate in, and therefore it's easy for them to engage on a higher level. And this is our hope that, this work, you can do it alone. If you want to go far, you go with a team. And I'm encouraging all persons, whether LGBTIQ persons or any other stakeholders, to be able to learn and to be able to initiate engagements with their various national human rights institutions for the fulfillment and the realization of human rights within their country.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arudi. It was very lovely to hear from you. Like, I wanted to ask more, even though we had a few questions, I wanted to ask more, but I feel like we're out of time. And maybe, hopefully, because I think you've been on the podcast before, many years ago. So maybe next 7 years, I can have you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've always been a friend of the center continuously, and it's very always fun to have you doing the work with the center as a partner. Oh, thank you.
I appreciate as well. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channels, social media platforms such as Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for listening.